a discreet deed. And in walks the stupid Stupak Amendment. If you hadn't been following the discussion, yes, the House of Representatives passed historic legislation offering health insurance to millions who are now excluded by reason of poverty or access. But in the late hours of the night, an amendment was offered and unfortunately passed that would exclude women from access to reproductive services, including abortion. This amendment would make it illegal for any woman to use the federal subsidy that is now offered in order to purchase health insurance from purchasing a health insurance plan that includes abortion services. So here you are, without health insurance. You're a woman. You have a job that doesn't offer health insurance. You have your own health needs. The government says, here's a nice big pot of money so you can go and buy health insurance. And you lunge for it, and just as you lunge for that opportunity to bring health insurance to yourself and your family, they pull it away and say, oh, but I'll give you this if you promise never to have an abortion. Here's the deal. That's what our government has done. They say, oh, okay, well, we'll let you have an abortion, but you will have to buy an insurance rider. Now, an insurance rider is usually a special circumstance that you have a pre-existing condition. And so they say, well, here's your health insurance policy, and you pay, $1,000 a month for a family of 4 for that health insurance policy. But because you have a pre-existing condition of X, Y, or Z, we'll sell you at another $200 a month or whatever this rider that should that condition ever need to be treated, we've been collecting extra money from you and every person that has that disease so that we can treat you separately. But you're special. You're not like the rest of the population. We just can't put you in the insurance pool with everybody else because you have a pre-existing condition. Well, what, might I ask, is the pre-existing condition that would require women to buy an abortion rider? That pre-existing condition is simply this: being a woman of childbearing age is now your pre-existing condition that requires you, unlike anyone else, to have to pay for an insurance rider for that circumstance. Some have commented on this legislation, and they say it's kind of like, the legislation goes further. It says that the health insurance plan can use no monies in relation to any abortion services. So it's not just the procedure that they can't pay for with the insurance policy. They can't pay for aftercare. They can't pay for them taking your blood pressure. They can't pay for any preparatory services that are regular health services. It doesn't just exclude the abortion, anything related to that service. So some have commented on the legislation to say it's like forbidding women who seek an abortion from using public transportation and public highways to get to the clinic. You have to use only private monies. It is unworkable and ridiculous. It is an unprecedented government intervention into women's health care. With one breath, those opponents of health insurance reform, and they say they're opponents, say that they want government out of health insurance. They want government out of health care. And then in the very next breath, they vote for the stupid Stupak Amendment. I would like to call Hanna to testify before Congress. And I would imagine that Hanna would have some very strong words for those powerful people who want to determine the reproductive future of her and every woman. And I kind of think she'd say something like this: get your stinking government hands off my uterus. Hanna took control of her life. She took control of her reproductive future. In spite of what people had told her, in spite of what they had told her God had determined for her, she went to the temple. She went to have this conversation with God. She went to determine her own life. The basis of the whole struggle for reproductive choice and freedom is that women are partners with God in the reproductive process. If you want to believe the stories of Adam and Eve, God actually had the first choice. God had Adam and Eve, and God could have put the reproductive mystery inside of the man. And I even think that many men pray that God wouldn't make that decision. But God made the first choice and chose the woman in which to hide the mystery of reproduction, and therefore conferring upon women the moral agency to participate in that process, making women partners with God in the reproductive process. And as partners, women are not silent partners. Women have the power and moral agency to determine their lives, even when others insist that God has given them something that they did not seek. Hanna chose to have a child. That is the point. It's her choice. But when a woman wants to make her own choice, men, especially in the House of Representatives, should not conspire to take that choice away. Hanna, according to the others, went into the temple with a particular goal in mind: to change God's mind. She went in a lowly woman, came out a powerful woman. That's a powerful woman that can change God's mind. But it says to me that women, in fact, do have that power. And so our goal, our struggle, is to let women's power flourish and to let God bless women's lives as they determine them for themselves. We often say in this movement that the choice to have or not have a child, the choice to complete or not complete a pregnancy, is a decision made between a woman and her God. I read the story of Hanna as she knelt there in prayer, struggling over her future, struggling with her God. And she arose from that altar filled with the power and blessing of her God. And I believe that every woman who struggles, and it is not an easy decision, every woman who struggles with this choice ought to have the blessing of the church to arise from that altar, to arise from that prayer with the power and the blessing of their God. Let the church say, amen.